Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. It's Comics Revisited, and today we're talking about Batman, The Killing Joke.
That was a horrible Joker laugh.
That's right, everybody. Welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers, Comics Revisited. I am Rockin, Robbie, Billups. This is
Brooks.
The Magnificence. Huh.
I think we did a little better than
Yeah, that was nice. I kind of liked it. Let's try it again. Brooks.
The Magnificent.
Anyway, so welcome to Comics Revisited. We're talking about Batman the Killing Joke because last year was the 20th anniversary of this book. Right? Yeah, because it came out in 1988. Alan Moore, Brian Bolland. We're going to be talking about it. Why? Because there's a Joker movie coming out in just a few weeks. You know about that? Have you heard about this Joker movie?
I heard something.
I've heard something about this Joker movie.
It's got that guy from Gladiator. Right?
Yes, that Russell Crowe. No. The other guy.
Oh, yeah.
Joaquin Phoenix. There's a few guys in that film. But anyway, yeah, the Joker movie starring Joaquin Phoenix, directed by Todd Phillips, produced by Martin Scorsese. This is a very different take on the Joker. However, they did say that if they had any inspiration in the comic books whatsoever, which there is literally none, right? Yeah. Nothing about this is going to be based on the comics, they said. But if there's anything that's a smidgen of an inspiration, is Batman, The Killing Joke. Right here. Available. This is the 20th anniversary recolored edition, right? Brian Bolland recolored it. We'll be talking about that one. We'll throw links down below so you can get The Killing Joke if you want to. If you don't have it, hopefully you have it. We're going to be spoiling this book. Anyway, The Killing Joke came out in 1988. It's written by Alan Moore. Brian Bolland was the artist on that. Richard Starkings did the lettering, and John Higgins did the coloring. And then in the new edition, Brian Bolland himself does the coloring. But this was right at the tail end. So Alan Moore had finished The Watchmen. Brian Bolland had finished Camelot 3000. Both very successful 12-issue series for DC, right? So DC was down for them to do whatever they wanted. And they told Brian Bolland, like, what do you want to do next? Well, you just finished a stint on Judge Dredd. And he was, like, drawing Judge Dredd death. And he had recently watched The Man Who Laughs, right? And he was like, I want to do a Joker. I think I can really do something with the Joker. He specifically apparently asked to be teamed up with Alan Moore, right? So this is post-Watchmen. Alan Moore, his relationship with DC, starting to decline at this moment, right? And they're both known for being so meticulous. Moore with his scripts, Bolland with his artwork, right? And you can tell that in the work, right? That it took a while to come out, and Moore was kind of done with DC, but he stuck around because he had such a respect for Brian Bolland, right? Yeah. The basic story is that Gordon is... So Gordon is kidnapped by Joker after he shoots and paralyzes Barbara Gordon, Gordon's daughter.
Barbara Gordon, Gordon's daughter?
Yeah, Barbara Gordon,
okay. Gordon's
daughter.
That's just kind of weird how you said that.
It was. Barbara,
like
Gordon's daughter. Anyway, yeah, too many Gordons. So Joker's trying to prove that all it takes is one bad day to turn someone into himself, right? That maybe he himself had one bad day, right? So this book also gives us an origin for the Joker. This is based on a whole idea that was set in a comic book back in the Silver Age or something, where it was about like that Joker used to be a part of the Red Hood gang. Then he fell in that vat of chemicals and all that stuff, right? So Moore's kind of taking that and making his own idea about what the Joker origin is. But it's not really the origin of the Joker, because the Joker himself even says in the book, if I'm going to have a past, I would prefer it be multiple choice. And it's kind of something...
He also says, like, sometimes I remember it differently.
Yes. It's just like in The Dark Knight, right? Right? So that's kind of the drive that the Joker has throughout this book, is he's trying to prove that all it takes is one bad day to drive someone insane, so he's going to perform this act on Gordon and prove it, I guess, to Batman and to the rest of the world. Yeah. That's the story. What do you think about The Killing Joke overall, especially on the revisit?
Well, I like it a lot. I mean, it's a really good story. It's easy. It's quick and easy to read too.
Yeah.
It's like a quick read, like less than an hour. But yeah, and it's like the art's really good. I think it's an interesting story. It is like, it's different than, when I was growing up. I didn't read the comics so much, but I knew about Batman through the animated series, the movie. So my idea of Joker's origin was always the Jack Napier.
Yeah.
One from the Tim Burton Batman.
Yes, absolutely.
And it was kind of what they used in the animated series.
Yeah.
They refer to him as Jack Napier a few times. But yeah, that was always what I thought. He was just a gangster who got knocked into acid by Batman and went crazy and became the Joker. But I think this is a little more interesting.
With him being like a failed comedian, like, having a wife with a kid on the way.
And the whole idea of like the cruel joke that he feels is being played on him. Like he has this one job he's going to do to get money to get his wife and his kid into a good neighborhood.
Yeah.
But by the time it's time to do the deed, like right before he's about to go and do it, she gets killed in like a 1,000,000-to-1 accident. And like he has no reason to do it anymore, but he still has to do it.
Yeah, absolutely, right? Of course, this book, one of the ways that he's trying to drive Gordon insane is that he shoots Barbara Gordon, thus ending the career of Batgirl, unbeknownst to Joker, right? And I guess that's one of the ideas of the randomness of the act, right? Yeah. Joker had no idea that that's what he was doing, right? Yeah. And yet it's an act that gets criticized by a lot of people, especially today. In hindsight, maybe Moore was a little too harsh on Barbara, and she was a little too inconsequential to the story, other than just the device, like a motivation to drive Gordon insane, or something like that. But I honestly think that they could have used James Gordon. We never really saw his first kid again until the Snyder run or whatever. So I think it's just supposed to be random. Whoever opened that door first. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I think the idea is like that image of the Joker in particular is very, very threatening because there's no eyes. You just see that light.
Wide brimmed hat on, and he's wearing a tropical shirt or something.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Yeah.
Like he's going on vacation.
He's going on vacation because I guess he's going to the amusement park, right?
Yeah. I guess.
And it throws back to so many old school Batman stories. Like I said, the whole Red Hood idea connected to the origin of the Joker. To the whole idea of Joker having an amusement park at his behest, as you do in Gotham.
And the way he pays for said amusement.
Yeah, right? I love how there has to be deeds that are... he even says, like, we've already signed it over to me. Why does the Joker care if the deeds are signed over to him? Right?
Yeah.
Why does he even care? Now, we also know that this book has a legacy, obviously, because it's considered one of the best Batman stories ever done. I don't consider it necessarily one of the best Batman stories ever done. It's definitely one of the best Joker stories ever done. Yeah. But it doesn't really say much about Batman. If I had one big problem with this is that it's not a Batman.
Batman's kind of just like the
opposing force.
Yeah, the opposite of the Joker.
Yeah, he's just the opposing force, right? And of course, Alan Moore is probably trying to say a lot about balance, duality, symmetry, and stuff like that. So the ending, right? So basically, as this happens, Gordon doesn't go insane, right? And that Batman shows up and just beats the crap out of the Joker, as most Joker stories do end, right? Yeah. And maybe Joker can get a little bit one up there, but then at the end, Joker tells Batman a story, and it actually makes Batman laugh. And it's the whole thing about the two lunatics escaping an asylum, and he's like, "Oh, you can walk on the flashlight."
Being like,
But, are you crazy? You'll turn the light off when I'm halfway across. And Batman starts laughing. And then you see, like, the reflection of light in the pool of rain. And it goes off. Mm-hmm. And some people read an ambiguous ending. There's apparently a moment where you can maybe look and see where the Joker has hit Batman with his toxin. And that's why Batman's laughing at the end. Because he's infected with the Joker toxin. Right? Then there's the idea that Batman snaps Joker's neck at the end of the book, right? But I think Moore's actually just trying to give an ambiguous ending where you decide your own thing, because when this book was first written, it wasn't meant to be canon. Like, Moore asked can I parallelize Batgirl? And they were like, sure, let's do it. So I guess they knew it was going to be somewhat canon, but like not to the effect that it did. And right after this book, they kill Jason Todd. And then Batman gets dark for a while and kind of has stayed that way ever since. What do you think about the story? Is there an ambiguous ending? Do you think the ending's pretty straightforward? Do you think Moore left that up to us?
Yeah, because, I always thought, he just took him in.
Yeah.
I always assumed, like, that's what Batman does. Like, no matter what the Joker does.
That's kind of the point of the book.
No matter what kind of fucked up thing the Joker does, Batman always just takes him back to Arkham.
He does, right? He does. Let's talk about the style of the book. The first thing that we got to talk about is Brian Bolland's art. Brian Bolland's art is amazing. It's got very clean line work, but it's very detailed. It's inked luxuriously. And we'll talk about the coloring later.
It's got some really good panels, like especially that iconic one with the Joker.
Yes,
doing that.
Excellent composition, iconic panels, images that stand the test of time, like that one. What do you think about Bolland's artwork in this?
I thought that was really good. I mean, it worked really good for the story. It gave it it made it feel real.
Yeah,
I guess.
And more writes things.
He's good with expressions, especially.
He was, especially with the Joker. I think Brian Bolland's Joker is one of the best Jokers we've ever had. Like, really, he did covers for, like, Batman Joker Last Laugh, when Joker thought he was dying, so he was going to, like, turn... This is, like, early 2000s. Do you remember that at all?
I kind of do, but...
Do you remember the image of him...
I was reading Batman at the time. Do
you remember the image of him tossing up an 8-ball?
Kinda, yeah.
That's from Last Laugh, and that's Brian Bolland, and he's... It's so perfectly detailed and rich and textured, and it's got depth to it. And when he does color himself, it does add a whole new layer to it, right? So in the recolor, it does add a new dimension it adds a dimension of the third, I should say, because it adds three-dimensionality to the artwork. It gives it a lot of form. But I really like the colors in the original. But before we get to that, I think Bolland's artwork is striking. Let's go ahead and talk about the colors. What do you prefer? Do you remember the original colors? Because I know that recently, what we've read is this. Which, by the way, this hardcover. And when I read my hardcovers, I take off the dust sleeve. Do you?
Well, sometimes it depends.
I do, because then I go, oh my goodness, that's what it looks like?
Yeah.
That's gorgeous. That's amazing. And it's got like a little story that Brian Bolland did by himself in the back there. And it's all right. Anyway.
Weird guy talking about trying to kill Batman.
We looked at some of the coloring comparisons before we went on air. What do you think about that? What do you like better?
It's hard to say because, I was just seeing it on your phone, but, I can't say one's better than the other, but, like, they're definitely different, and I think both are good.
Yeah, John Higgins did it in a very gaudy...
It's watercolors, Watercolors are very like that. That's why they worked well in comics, because they pop,
Yeah. Yeah,
but they're it's very hard to control your watercolors.
The Higgins colors are very, like, obnoxious, and they're very gaudy, right? And they're very much like colors from The Watchmen, right? And did he color The Watchmen?
I don't know.
He may have. We'll look in that in just a second. But I love those sickly sweet greens and purples and yellows, and I think they and oranges. They do that. He's doing that to reflect the tone of the story. This is a Joker story, not a Batman story. When Brian Bolland did the recolor of it, he colored it like a Batman story, right? And it's got great coloring, and I love how the red pops like crazy. And I think that's what he wanted. He wanted all the colors to be cool, and so that the red would pop. However, man, like I get it, because you got the light bulb, you got the shrimp, you got the clown, like you got all these little bits of color, and the red really pop, but the red don't pop as much as it could. And I actually prefer the original coloring. I'll be honest with you, Brooks. I like that sickly sweet coloring because I think Higgins recognized that this was a Joker story, not a Batman story. So this is nice coloring, but it's almost a little too modern for me. I like the 80s aspect of the coloring of the Killing Joke. What do you think?
I could go with either one, but I think I do kind of prefer that older style, bright, colorful look.
My Watchmen book's all the way down there. Anyway, it's similar to the coloring in Watchmen, but it may be the same person. I don't know. Okay.
It's like way down.
We're just going to have to go ahead and do it. It should be right here. I almost want to say that Gibbons colored himself, but let's see. No, it was John Higgins. It was the colorist of the Watchmen. It was those colors. That's why it's so similar. It was the same guy. I'm glad we actually took the time to reach 1 foot behind us and actually get that. Anyway, so I like Higgins' colors.
To look foolish.
As controversial as it may seem, because I love those colors on the Watchmen.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want the Watchmen done with any other colors. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's just me. The other big thing about the format of the book is the format of the book, and the style is the format. Like, so it was done as a one-shot prestige format, so it had nice binding to it. My original copy, which was probably like a 4th printing or something, I kept on my bookshelf. And it was an idea to get comic books up and elevated. And that was something that was happening with Dark Knight Returns, with Watchmen. Eventually we're getting into Sandman, Swamp Thing had already come. Comic books were becoming more sophisticated. This British invasion of talent, like Brian Bolland, like Alan Moore, like John Higgins, like Richard Starkings. They were coming in and elevating comic books to a more sophisticated level, and I think the format of the book gives to that. Because I'll be honest with you, Brooks, one of the biggest problems with comic books to the populace out there, the muggles, if you will, right, is the format.
Yeah.
I'm paying $4 for 20 pages. It's a pamphlet.
Yeah.
Churches give this away for free. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, maybe a prestige format, maybe a graphic novel, maybe something like these make it worth more. Make it seem more like it fits on a bookshelf or something like that. What do you think about the format of the book? How it was released as a one-shot? Because that was rare.
Yeah, I like the idea of that, of, you know, like, giving more room for a writer and artist to tell a story.
Yeah.
Instead of, you know, because having to, like, wrap up this story by this issue, like, you know, they kind of have to plan differently for, like, your average comic.
Absolutely.
Like, things kind of have to get compressed in a way.
Yeah.
You have to plan it out more. But, like, you know, I think it gives more freedom, you know.
It's the reason why we have things today like Batman Last Night on Earth. And, you know, it's going to be, its format's going to be extra size, but it's going to be 3 issues. It's going to come out every other month. And, you know, really fun stuff.
Dark Knight Returns come
It came in 4 prestige format books, and it could fit on your shelf, you know. And it was like the Dark Knight Returns, the Dark Knight Triumphant, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And DC was really experimenting with, especially with format back then. They continue to do that, much more so than Marvel, right? Much more so than Marvel, I would say. The other thing about style I want to mention is Alan Moore's style. He's got a very nice lyrical flow to his dialogue in this book. Something like The Watchmen's fairly heavy, with a lot of different narrative, a lot of different captions, a lot of different dialogue overlapping. Killing Joke is very simple in comparison to something like The Watchmen or V for Vendetta, right?
Yeah.
There's actually not too much going on. The Joker himself is cast as the unreliable narrator. He's the one telling you the story about his past, right? And Moore has this nice lyrical flow that goes through that grid, because it's a common grid. It's what he used in Watchmen. It's what he uses in The Killing Joke. Is that very established grid. Of course, there's more 9-panel grids in this one, but you see the rigid structure of the book. But I love those moments when the Joker, for instance, first pops out of that lake pond that he gets dumped into, and it breaks that grid structure a little bit, and it takes up like the last third of the page in and of itself, right? What do you think about the flow of the dialogue and just more style in the book?
Well, you know, it's Alan Moore. He knows how to tell a story.
He does.
You know, he knows how to write interesting characters. And one thing that was interesting is there's actually a musical number in this story.
Yeah.
The Joker just breaks into song while Gordon's like on this roller coaster.
Yeah.
And something I wish I could they would do like. You know,
I bet someone has
the Mark Hamill voice.
Yeah.
From Batman the Animated Series, have him sing this song and do like an animation for it.
Well, I haven't seen the Killing Joke movie. Maybe they do.
They might, yeah.
We haven't seen that movie.
I'd like to see it.
So let us know if they do.
Despite the...
That's something Moore has done. He did it in V for Vendetta. There's a musical number in V for Vendetta.
Yeah.
Like, it has notes in it and everything. That's something Moore's good at, is he's trying to involve more than just the visual sense into comic books. He's trying to entice your senses of smell and hearing and touch and texture and all that. He's doing all that. He's trying to bring all that. Just like a writer would to the novel.
It's like when you're reading a comic book, your mind is providing the sound.
Yeah.
Like, you know, because your mind provides the voices for the characters.
Yeah,
and, like,
but he's actually taking an active part and trying to be a part of that with you.
Well, it's kind of like how they use like the onomatopoeias, like you know, the booms and the pows and everything, trying to make you, you know, hear the sounds of, you know, the action too.
I gotcha. How important is this book? What is its legacy onto the comic books? First of all, I think it led to a darker Batman.
Yeah, well, that was a time that everything was getting darker anyway.
You got Dark Knight Returns, you got Watchmen, now you have this, and then the Death in the Family right after this.
Yeah.
Then the Tim Burton Batman movie right after this. Arkham Asylum by Grant Morrison right after this. Kind of led to a darker Batman, did it not? Killing Joke's kind of very important for that. Reflect on that.
Well, I think it's good, you know, that we can tell darker stories about these characters, because, you know, there's like two sides. You can, you know, tell a Batman story more than one way. You don't have to like tell a Batman story just where Batman, you know, solves a crime, finds a criminal. You know, you can go deeper with him, I think, because of stories like this. You know, you can look into this, you know, the psyche of him and his, you know, his rogues gallery, and like his relationship with him. because he does have like a strange relationship to all of his villains.
Yeah.
Like a kind of a personal thing, you know. They know each other. They actually talk. They have conversations.
It's almost like
you know?
Joker's his best friend.
Yeah.
In a way, right?
He's like, I don't want to kill you, but we're going to end up going. That's kind of what the thing is. Like I don't want. He doesn't want to kill the Joker, and he doesn't think the Joker wants to kill him. But you know the way he sees it, eventually it's going to come down to that.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that he addresses in the book. So not only did it make a darker Batman, it made a more menacing Joker.
Yeah.
It took the Joker into this totally nihilistic, just super crazy, just bringer of despair in a way. You know, the randomness of it. And before this, the Joker was seriously just the clown prince of crime. He was seriously just like that Adam West, Cesar Romero stuff. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So this really brought about that. Reflect on that.
Well, you know, I think that really works well with the Joker, because the Joker is kind of one of those characters that goes against his type. Mm-hmm. You know, he's like bright, colorful. He's a clown, but he's also like this murderous, dark psychopath.
Yeah.
You know, that just doesn't care about anything or anyone.
It's one of my favorite things about the dichotomy of the Joker and Batman is Joker is the hero who saves the day and the bringer of light in a way, but he exists in the darkness. He is a vampire bat in a way. He's this monstrous bat demon. Joker's a clown. Something that's supposed to make kids laugh. Yeah. You know, and it's just the way that they take that and they flip it. And the clown is the menacing villain, and the bat, the creature of the night, is the bringer of the light. It's so, I love that. More actually deals with that a little bit, more on the Joker side, at least for me. Another thing about the lasting legacy of this book is that Barbara Gordon became Oracle. Yeah, Oracle. And I do think that the character of Barbara grew from being Oracle, because it was more than just about her athletic ability and agility as being Batgirl.
Like being, you know, not able to run around as Batgirl. She could still do something, you know. Yeah. She still had abilities that she could use to help, you know.
So then you got this problem where you take away one of your only women characters at the time, right? And you've completely retired them because you use them as just a motivating factor in this plot, right? As a plot device, Barbara is used. So then she becomes Oracle and actually becomes more of an empowering character, I believe.
Yeah.
But then, to kind of undo the disempowerment of the Killing Joke, they undo that and have her get better, and it's no longer permanent. And even in the book it says she may never walk again.
Yeah.
But in the comics for a while they were like, she's never going to walk again. Right? But then now, of course, Barbara's Batgirl again. So that's cool, but I do feel like we missed something still with the Oracle idea. Because I think Oracle is a very powerful and empowering character.
She doesn't have to be disabled to be Oracle, I don't think, either.
She doesn't. But when she's Batgirl, she's not in that role.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Like, she could at some point decide, you know, maybe she wants to be less, you know, putting herself at risk, and maybe, like, you know, take up, you know, kind of an apprentice of her own.
Yeah.
Like, she kind of did that with Cassandra Cain, didn't she, when she was Batgirl?
She did, but she was still paralyzed. She was Oracle.
But, I mean, they could still, you know, retreat that.
And she did that with Stephanie, when Stephanie was Batgirl as well.
Spoiler.
So the other big thing about this, the legacy of the Killing Joke, is the graphic novel. Is the fact that they printed this in a 48-page prestige format, bound, something you could put on a bookshelf. That still lasts today. Not as utilized as it should be today, I think. But even books like the Black Label stuff, Batman Damned, Superman Year One, those have been prestige format. You can put those on a bookcase. There are more comic books like that today than there were back then, but not near enough.
Yeah.
I still think we got to do some experimentation with the formats. And I think a format like Killing Joke is good. Look at the staying power of a book like The Killing Joke. And there's no backstory. If you know who Batman is and you know who the Joker is, you can read this book and it's fine, right? You know what I'm saying? So what about some of the themes? Obviously, it delves pretty deeply into the Joker-Batman relationship, albeit closer on the Joker side for me. It shows their connection. It shows that they're mirror images of each other. The whole one bad day aspect, right? He's trying to prove that Gordon will go crazy, will go mad after one bad day. If he does all these heinous things to Gordon and to his family and shows him all this terrible stuff, he's going to drive him insane, because he went through the same stuff. His wife died randomly. He got set up for this crime. He got dumped in this acid, right? Like, and Batman has something to do with the origin of the Joker.
Yeah, because it's like the last the last thing he sees as his, pre-Joker self is the Batman just swinging at him.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of that traumatic experience.
Yeah.
That helps shape his whole, like, obsession with Batman.
And just like in The Watchmen, especially with the composition of the pages, Alan Moore and company, they're exploring symmetry. They're exploring duality. And in exploring duality and the dichotomy of it, they are exploring balance. And they're exploring the oneness of it, right? And as we were talking about before, you kind of got Batman on one side. He had a bad day.
Yeah.
And it changed his life. He's crazy. Batman's crazy.
Yeah.
But he's not the Joker.
No.
And Gordon doesn't go either route. He's kind of that balance in the middle. Let's talk about that.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with, the character's perspectives, too. From the Joker's perspective, he does all these horrible things, but he doesn't see it as him doing horrible things. He just, he's just being a clown, he's funny.
Joker's is...
he thinks it's a joke, but, by Batman's perspective, it's like he's murdering people and he has to be stopped.
The Joker is very funny in The Killing Joke.
Yeah.
He actually says some darkly funny things, which usually he doesn't always.
Like after he shoots Barbara, he's like...
when he's talking about the book condition and all that stuff,
like
that's got some damage to the spine.
Damage,
yeah.
But that's the Joker,
Yeah, it is. I was like, how does he know that he just paralyzed her and didn't kill her? Anyway, the symmetry idea there. What do you think Moore's trying to say about the comparison between Batman and Joker?
Well, it's kind of like, trauma doesn't affect everybody the same. Because the Joker, he had that trauma and he went crazy. The Batman had trauma and he, became Batman.
He went crazy, but he turned it into a vehicle for good in a way. And Gordon doesn't go either way.
Yeah.
He maintains.
Yeah. Gordon's the everyman.
That's the ultimate defeat right there of the Joker, is when Batman tells him, Gordon's not insane. You failed.
Like Gordon, it didn't do anything to Gordon, really. I mean, I'm sure he's, he was traumatized by it, but, he worked his way through it. Cause, he was
Barbara too, right?
He's not going to give the Joker the satisfaction of having, done that to him.
And Barbara as well, right? Absolutely. So I love that symmetry there. I love that exploration. I don't think it gets much deeper than that. I think Moore himself has even said, this book has nothing relatable for humans because this book isn't about humans, it's about Batman and Joker. But I do think those archetypes, that polarity, I think it applies for us. We can fit that in, right? Overall, would you recommend this book to people?
Oh, certainly. If
you
need my recommendation, then
you're right. Do you think it's one of the best Batman stories ever told? Do you think it's one of the best Joker stories ever told?
I would say so. I mean, it's high up there, and on both fronts.
I think it's more of a Joker story than a Batman story,
but I mean, the two kind of go together.
Like Year One, Dark Knight Returns, those are Batman stories. Killing Joke is a Joker story, and I think it's one of the best Joker stories. To be honest with you,
it should be interesting to see if they can, because in this Joker movie, I'm hearing that they're not going to use Batman at all.
Yeah.
So it should be interesting to see, how do you tell a Joker story without Batman?
Yeah, because without one, they can't exist, and that's kind of the point of this book, I think, even. And they at the end there, I think the ultimate point of the end is not that maybe the Joker killed Batman, maybe Batman killed the Joker. I think the point is they're the same, so they can sit there and laugh at a joke.
Yeah.
And at the end there, after Batman tells him that Gordon didn't go crazy, Joker, looks at the camera, like at us. No smile. And we see him like Batman. And then at the end we see Batman like the Joker.
Yeah, it's and then he has this whole frustration. He's like, why don't you ever laugh at my jokes?
Yeah, he does. He does. So overall, I would recommend it too. We at times do ya digs. Yeah. Out of 5 possible ya digs, what would you give Batman Killing Joke?
I'd give it 5.
5, the perfect score.
Yeah.
High up there. Yeah. One of the best comic books ever done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Certainly.
I'd give it a 4. 4. I don't think it's 5. That's just me. However, if you're a Batman fan, you gotta check it out.
Yeah.
If you're an Alan Moore, Brian Bolland fan, you gotta check it out.
It's kind of like a must-read for any kind of...
It's a must-read.
Who wants to get into comics.
It's a must-read Joker Batman story.
Yeah.
It's actually very essential to the ongoing story of Batman, and I like how there's still some idea. I still have mixed feelings about the Barbara stuff, mostly because I think that Barbara became such an empowering character as Oracle.
Yeah.
I feel like that kind of got brushed aside. Years of development. Not that I'm saying that, like, it was a big deal to do that to Barbara in this book.
Yeah.
Hera has opinions too. Anyway, that signifies it's time for the end of the video. Anyway, thank you for checking out the video. Let us know what you think about Batman the Killing Joke in the comments down below. I've been Rockin' Robbie Billups. This has been
Brooks the Magnificent.
Be sure to join us next week for Comics Revisited. We're talking about Warren Ellis's The Authority. Kramer.